Hello, welcome to Taking It Down this week. There are no TV podcasts out there really for the working class, made by the working class, well, until now. That's us. That's us at Taking It Down. We know that a lot of television shows are scattered with a lot of different options and that you work. We want to let you know what's worth your time and your dollar. If you're not borrowing passwords, you won't get any judgment here anyway. On this week's episode, it's only me. And I'm going to examine some of the best of the television shows this year. If you haven't seen them, perhaps you can find one you like, enjoy it, let us know what you think. Let me get into the show proper here.
Alabama take projection.
Okay, no Donovan or Adam this week. Donovan has some obligations. Adam's wrapping up his tour as he journeys back from the UK. If you saw any of his shows over there, be sure to let us know. Comment on this podcast episode on the alabamatake.com, our home site, or you can always email us at thealabamatake@gmail.com. The Alabama Take is, of course, our home site and the site for many other podcasts and writings. So this week, I got a brief announcement for this podcast as well. The announcement will apply to the rest of the podcast in the Alabama Takes family. And it's that soon, Apple Podcast will allow us to have video for all of our podcasts. Within a week or two, if you listen to our show on Apple Podcast, you should be able to switch between streaming the video seamlessly and then back to listening to audio only. It shouldn't hinder anything. If you're not on Apple Podcast or you're not a user for Apple Podcast, you don't have to be on it. You just use it. But if you are on there, many of our podcasts will have a video version. But if you're not, there's a video version on YouTube for most of our podcasts these days. Some of us have already started that. You may have noticed the podcast We Are a Star War have both audio and video on YouTube. You take your pick on which one you'd want. We've done that lately with Taking It Down. In fact, this will likely be the last episode in a while not to have a both audio version and a video version as options on YouTube and perhaps on Apple Podcast. Almost all of our podcasts with the Alabama Take will have some video to watch if you want, but you don't have to watch it. The audio will stream just as well. If you're not in Apple Podcast or you're hearing us as the audio only version in YouTube, and this is for Taking It Down specifically, you'll notice a more finely tuned and edited version if it's audio only. The Apple Podcast version and the video version will have some more things left in here and there. You may hear an occasional or like or a stray piece of banter. That'll get deleted in the audio only. All of this is to say that you just have more options with our podcasts now, and we hope you enjoy them. You can let us know what you think. You can always comment on the episode on the alabamatake.com. You can comment in YouTube, or you can email us at thealabamatake@gmail.com for any comments. And while you're at it, if you're on Apple Podcast, do this right now. Click on our show, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the episode list. Click on the ratings. 5 stars, write out a review that says why you enjoy us, why you return to us, why we're your go-to TV podcast out of all of them, why you'd recommend us to friends. In fact, we'll take a break right here so you can go and do that. And on the other half, I'll give you the 5 best series from 2026 so far. Social media has made it almost impossible for you to see all that you followed or liked or want to see. That's not so with the Alabama Take because we have a workaround. You can now subscribe to the newsletter, which you'll receive almost weekly and features a quirky story or two, as well as a recap of all that's happened on the website so that you don't feel like you've missed anything. While you wait for today's podcast episode of Taking It Down to return, you can hit up the show notes and subscribe to the newsletter. Okay, I'm back. This is usually the spoiler section after the break, but not this week. No spoilers today. I'm going to use my time alone to review, very briefly, 5 best shows of the year for me thus far. So it's the top 5, but I won't put them in any kind of order. I'm just going to lay them out for you. They've ended their run. That's a qualification I must tell you that I'm using. They've at least ended their run for the year, that is. And I've seen them. Yeah, so no particular order. Over on Disney in January, you may have forgotten it aired. It's a new Marvel show, Wonder Man. Doesn't sound like much of anything, but this was an original and therefore fresh TV series in their lineup and easily the best of theirs to date. The chemistry between the leads, Yahya Abdul-Mateen III and Ben Kingsley, was fantastic. It was believable. It centered the series, part of why you kept coming back for the next episode every week. And I think the thing that put it over the top is that it was realistic, as realistic a superhero show should be. Part of what made it great is that it recognized it was a superhero show set in a world where people have powers and exist. I think that was a smart move. I liked it a lot, and it should be one of Disney's and Marvel's most proud of television shows. I don't know how they feel about it, but it was great. I would like to see more. Next on my list is kind of out of left field in its own way. It's the NBC broadcast comedy, The Fall and Rise of Reggie Dinkins. It was just hilarious. Most of its 10-episode run had multiple great jokes per minute. It stars Tracy Morgan, Bobby Moynihan from SNL days, Daniel Radcliffe, and Precious Way as Reggie Dinkins' fiance. This is a show where Tracy Morgan's Reggie Dinkins is trying to get into the NFL Hall of Fame after a bit of a disgrace. I won't say more, but I love this one. It lifted me up a lot. Very funny. Good-natured show. You can find all the episodes on Peacock if you missed them on NBC each week. Also on my list are 3 HBO shows. I'll run these down. The first of which is A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is the first of 2 Game of Thrones series set to air this year. House of the Dragon returns for its 3rd season this summer. I expected A Night of the Seven Kingdoms to be pretty fun, to a degree. I didn't see it having quite the emotional impact that it did. It's very grounded, but very real. The emotional stakes felt not incredibly large, but at the same time human. And it had some surprises that you'll find in almost all Game of Thrones series. That was here too. The less you know going in, probably the better. Some of it's been covered in Game of Thrones and its lore, but still, try not to remember that and enjoy this one. I thought it was good. Kind of funny too. Next in my HBO series of greats this year, I've praised The Pit a lot, but the 2nd season did not suffer any sort of slump. If anything, it's a tighter and better season than its first. I think Noah Wiley gets a lot of credit, deserved credit here, as he plays Dr. Robbie, but he took it upon himself a lot more to do writing and directing. He wrote a lot of the episodes, directed a few of them this season. I loved it. I thought the way that they handled a lot of the storylines, from ICE to health insurance, was realistic and fantastic, but none were as realistic and with emotional heft that the Dr. Robbie storyline had. I thought that was very well handled. And lastly, on the short list is the HBO series DT of St. Louis. Again, had more emotional punch than maybe I saw coming. Just a note-perfect look at suburban life. You know, we've said it here on this podcast that the mystery's excellently done, but it's a piece of the puzzle. It does have an odd, very surreal at times tone. Don't let that throw you. Jason Bateman, David Harbour, and Linda Cardinelli paint really true pictures of this sort of life, even with some odd twists and turns and different tone. And I hope out of those 5 you find something you like, or maybe you've seen some of them and you wanted to hear a little more. That's it for this week. I believe next week, with Donovan back, we're diving into Widow's Bay on Apple and see if Apple can get a series on this list. We'll probably end up talking about the back half of the Netflix anthology Beef, and perhaps a little of HBO's Half Man, in both non-spoilers and spoilers. In the meantime, you can let us know what you think. What have been your favorite shows of this year? You can comment on the alabamatate.com, where our podcast resides, or you can email us or any of our podcasts at thealabamatate@gmail.com. And that's it for me. I am appreciative of your listening and your time. For Adam and Donovan, I'm Blaine, and we hope you like videos that are coming. Have a nice week.